Whilst those off the pitch continue to let the seventh oldest club in England down, the players and staff on it just keep doing us all proud. 11 unbeaten, up to sixth, 43 points from the Fortress Stade DSCL. Could it be our year? Episode 414 of the Tilehurst End podcast. Podcast.
Podcast.
Proudly supported, as always, by ZC Said Films. Here with me to discuss a great performance against the Posh is Giuseppe Ross Weber. How
Mm.
are you? Are you
I'm
well?
I'm very, very good, actually. You reminded me of the sloppy Giuseppe pizza at Pizza Express, which other pizza places are available, but I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about Pizza Express for a decade and that particular pizza. So you bringing that name up, that's where I went to immediately.
What, Pizza Express?
Yeah, Pizza Express. I haven't been back in a decade. Is it good these days? Is it cool? Is it still called Pizza Express?
Yeah, still got Pizza Express. Yeah.
Okay, I think I saw that somewhere else. I'm gonna look this up during the
Is it
episode.
is it good?
Yeah, good question.
The kids like it. The kids
Okay.
like going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right actually. Do you know
Yeah.
what? I think when others have fallen away, it's survived, and that says something in this current climate. You know.
There's a funny, I'm realizing now, like actually I can date the year that I left the UK and that like I feel I remember a Pizza Express and Prezzo and River Island and Top Man. These were the
Top Man's
stores that
gone.
they're all gone. Okay,
No,
cool.
well, River Island's still going, but
Oh, okay, good, good. Yeah.
Top
Are
Man's
they in the Oracle? This is the way that I'll tie this back to Reading.
on. So River Island are in the Oracle. They're on the
Okay.
upper mall level.
Yeah.
Um, don't know where Prezzo's in the high street. I think Pizza Express is on the Riverside.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, look,
They're around.
they're doing what they can. It's an expensive place to have a shop, right? But
Yeah.
it's it's a good shopping experience if you
Right.
want the base. How
The amount
about
that Shane Long's been spotted there, it's got to be an expensive place to shop because you know that man's got dollary dues from the baggies. He's
that?
got
Exactly.
baggies of cash, to spend there.
Exactly.
So yeah, get into the Oracle.
Um, Yeah, we're back with episode 414. We're delighted with the result, as you can probably tell.
Yeah,
It was
you
a
wouldn't know
very
it from the intro because I immediately went off onto shops. But like this, we were originally going to record this after the Blackpool game, but then I
yeah,
just got really excited after the Peterborough result, and I just decided that I wanted to record tonight. So we're gonna. I think this is better though because it lets us roll around in the in the positivity
mm,
for a few days. And as we'll talk about with Blackpool in the preview, it's been a little while since we've won on the road there. So yeah, we'll get into it.
yeah. Well, we're going to talk about all that. Episode 414 brought to you in association with the Sensei Said Films. As always, our friends, our benefactors, our heroes, our support, everything. And of course, to you, our listeners, who are continuing to support us in this difficult season. Really hope you enjoyed Saturday, wherever you watched it, or if you listened to it on the radio, whatever you did. That win was for all of us, I think, after the weeks that we'd had kind of leading up to that. And we're going to talk about it right now in the recap.
Be loud and be proud and back the boys and make some noise. Come on, you Oz!
Shout out to this week's podcast sponsor, ZCZ Films, showing that age is no barrier to being a hula hoop.
Right, so welcome back to episode 414 of the Tyler Sen podcast. Really big result, really, really big result. I know there was a lot of people that were very, what should we say, apprehensive about going. Some people stayed away altogether and they were very vocal about that, and that's everyone's choice. But for those that did go, they were rewarded with a really, really good game of football, I have to say. It wasn't a classic, but in terms of the way that both teams wanted to play, and full credit to Peterborough, I have to say, I thought they were very, very good in spells. They were very direct. They got some very, very handy forward players. Without sounding patronising, deservedly got a goal. I think it would have been
Yeah.
robbery if they'd not got one, really. But they were really good, as were we. And from the off, we were very much involved in a blustering game of association football, Ross. There's a lot of talking points really, but I know that you wanted to kick things off with Rushesha, who
Yeah.
has he's had a mixed bag of reviews really. He's looked all right. Certainly last season when I was watching the under 21s, he looked okay, but didn't really get a look in under Sellers. Now, with injuries and displacement of all the other players we've got going on defensively, he's becoming a bit of an everyman really. And I think Saturday certainly was one of his best games, if not the best game so far of the season.
Yeah.
Um,
I think displacement as a theme is that you just said is like a really good way of putting it because from my count and help me out here, I think that the back four, which was very makeshift at the weekend, was I think two right backs, a centre back who's played about 5 games, and a centre mid. I think that's what we had in the back four this week. Before the game started, I had zero idea whether Abrafa was going to play on the left or right. I didn't know whether Rashisha was going to be on the left or right throughout the game. But the reason I kind of wanted to talk about Rashisha was because did it feel like to you in that game, and you were in the stadium, right? Yeah, I think you were. Yeah, of course you were. Yeah, in the
yeah,
Dolan.
Obs.
Did it feel like to you Rashisha had 20 more touches than any of the other defenders on the field?
No, but do you know what did happen? And I'm
Yeah.
glad I couldn't get a signal. My signal in the stadium is horrendous. If anyone knows a way around, if you could just let me know, because I can never get involved in a group chat. I can never send my tweets out and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But the first 5 minutes, I was like, is Lewis Wing playing centre back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems like
Okay.
so
Great
big.
point.
And I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, what is this formation? It was like the quarterback just kind of directing traffic from literally in front of Joel Pereira.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, you're
Isha,
100%
fantastic.
correct. That you're right. That's actually kind of like a part of it as well. So in that like Lewis Wing was so far back, it was quite different. It was quite interesting the way that Reading were playing. And I brought up Tiv because I think that he was very useful in just keeping the ball moving and keeping possession. A lot of when I was rewatching, I was like, well, where do all these touches come from? And a lot of when I was rewatching, he does sometimes take a touch or two too many in the middle of the field,
Yeah.
especially. He's got big, Martin Freeman, I'm going on an adventure gif, vibes about him at times where he just wanders off into the middle of the field. But he's also very good at like stepping in. If Wing has this thing that he does where he's good at like kind of stepping in and timing that step in to steal the ball away when it might be about to go in behind us. And Rashisha was doing that as well, but locking down his side on Saturday, which I thought was really impressive.
It was hilarious to me because it certainly for large portions of the game, but certainly for the first sort of 5-10 minutes, it was like Peterborough had forgotten that Reading had an 11th man, and that
Yeah.
11th man was Lewis Wing. Like no one touched him, no
Yeah.
one even put any pressure on him. They just were like, just have the ball, mate. Which in comparison to other games where he's been literally marked out of the game,
Yeah.
it was a bizarre situation, really.
Yeah, well, but so he was so far reserved on the field, and I think we talked about before, Hunt and others would like to get him a bit further up the field so that he can kind of tap into that goal scoring form that he has. He tried one from a very similar position that he hit that like 40-yarder from earlier in the season this week, and it went, somewhere into Club 1871, but behind the net. So, he didn't get as many chances to shoot in this game as a result. I think what was helping Reading so much was the balance on the left side and the right side. I'm going to compare this cringily to England, but England looked a lot
Get
better.
out,
Yeah, I
get out,
know.
mate.
Sorry. But England looked a lot better in the international break just gone with Lewis Skelly on the left side, right? Because unlike the Euro in the summer, where it was, Foden, who doesn't like playing on the left, passing to Kieran Trippier, a man who does not have a left foot, or if he does, has not yet discovered it. It was bad. We had nobody with that, footedness on that side of the field. We'll talk about Charlie Savage. I know you're going to want to, and he was brilliant. But he was brilliant around a bunch of, a couple of other players who were able to move very fluidly in Abrafa and Kamara. And I saw a very similar thing going on with Rashisha, Campbell, and Nibs on the other side as well. So those three players on both sides were able to kind of just, whenever they reached the outside of the box, they were able to just move interchangeably a bit more. Savage is useful whipping across into the box. He's also pretty fast, so he can make the overlapping run. I think one of the goals that we got came from Savage whipping across into the box after an overlapping run. So we know he can do that. We know he can shoot from the half space. Kamara can do these things too. Kamara can go out wide as well. And I had some concerns about the lineup when I first saw it, not least because of the defense. And you know, I prefer, and I've talked about it before, having Wareham down the middle, and then Kelvin on the left. I think that's the strongest front three is Kelvin, Wareham, and Chem. But I have to admit, in this game, that for what Reading wanted to do in providing some balance and fluidity in the attack and really activating that left side more, Kamara worked really well and he worked hard in the game just gone too. A little bit more composure and he could have had, you know, a goal as well. But I think he picked up another assist. So yeah.
Jury is very much still out for me on Kamara. Very much. He there are times, like you said, in terms of composure, I would class that as being wasteful. You know, he's had enough opportunities now in the team to kind of have a little bit more composure around him. And I feel like, and this might sound like a ridiculous armchair football fan statement, not armchair, but you know, just general football fan, is that if there's anyone else available, they come in for Kamara. I still don't see specifically what he brings to the team. I really want to. I want to see that. I want to fully invest in him as a player, but I don't see that at the moment. You know, Rushesha, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for. Same with the
We've had a
Brentford,
soft spot for Tiv on this and his dancey dance on this pod for
yeah,
a very long time.
exactly.
We've liked him for a while. He's always seemed like a good lad, you know, even when he's been
Yeah.
chugging away behind the scenes. And I am just going to again just give a quick shout out to his TikTok. Go watch his TikTok.
Yeah, but
It's funny.
if you are under 35, probably
Thank
is
you.
the
That
ballpark
includes
for
me. Yep.
TikTok.
Yep.
Then yeah, you go for it. If you are like me, who is not over or not under 35, then you don't touch it with a barge pole.
All right.
But
Fair enough.
he look, he seems like a really good character, and I want him to do well. I'm not saying I'm against Kamara because I'm absolutely not. I'm not against any of the players. I just don't see at the moment what Kamara brings. I just
Stage
don't
of
get
his
it.
career wise, he looks like a fit, like a match with the rest of the players on the pitch around him, I think. But
Mm.
like we forget sometimes that he's had like 50 more caps than a lot of those guys. So yeah, I think you would hope for a little bit more improvement by then. That said, like I said, I thought this was one of his better games. I think that one
Yeah,
of his issues is that he's a player who's better in small spaces. He's very two-footed. He's very good at wriggling around the corner. He was very useful in the opening goal. Obviously, Kelvin, you know, was able to make the kind of yard of space that got the ball back towards Chem or towards the, you know, the defender who eventually
Mm.
put it in. But yeah, no, I think that Kamara's got more to show, but this was one of his better games, and the way in which he was able to move fluidly, you know, with Brafer and Savage, that was really impressive. I will say one last thing before I let you go off for however long you need to go off about Savage. I've talked a bunch this season about game state being really important for Reading, and every game's easier, isn't it, when you get a goal in the first 5 minutes? And
Yeah.
you can just go from there. The stadium's feeling good. I wonder if Mbenge would have left Club 1871 quite so early, you know, a few weeks ago if the goal had gone in, you know, because he'd probably be, you know, hyped up then by that. So yeah, that was really good to see. You are right though, what you said a minute ago that they were worth a goal.
Yeah.
Peterborough, and I'm surprised they didn't score sooner. And they should have scored right after we scored. Actually, they horrible League One miss to the side of the goal.
Dreadful.
That
Dreadful. It's been good form as well. Can't remember
yeah.
who it was about that chance.
No, I'm not sure either. They had some very good, very pacey wingers. I thought Abrafa was doing very well in possession, but struggled a bit out of possession
Mm.
in this game. That particular chance that I'm thinking of, it's kind of that curled ball that goes into the seam in between the fullback and the centre back. And Garcia struggled with that this season. You know, Abrafa struggled with it. Dorset struggled with it. Reading's defense just struggles with that ball for whatever reason.
Well, the tale of the tape is that Peterborough had 52% possession,
Hmm.
obviously to our 48. They had in total 15 shots, 4 on target. We had 12, 6 on target. And you know, it's not difficult to see why Peterborough are where they are. You know, they are very top heavy in terms of their attacking players, but when you defend the way they did for the 3 goals, which were all avoidable, but
Yeah.
all of them were very easily avoidable. You know, it's not difficult to see why they're what 14th, 15th,
I thought they
and
squeezed the
they were very
pitch very small, and that led to them having, so they had quite a high line, and Kamara got in behind it a few times in the first half. And then, they didn't want to go too far forward either because they wanted to run in behind. They wanted a lot of space to put that ball into, so they really tried to squish the pitch up, quite small. I was, to be fair, quite impressed by the way they adjusted their build up, and managed to keep passing out of defense. Reading's press was really giving them issues in the first half hour, and you can imagine that the BBC Barks commentary came with a lot of yelling about passing out from the back at that time, as sometimes it will. I was very, very impressed by the way in which Peterborough sort of adjusted the way in which they were passing out from the back after about 40 minutes. And then they sent some of our players around for a run around basically for a little while. So I think we kind of had a stretch in the back half of the first half where we weren't that effective, because all of our pressing players were just being run around, and then they've got to run back towards their own goal too. It's tough. So yeah, I just thought they were all right, Peterborough, but Reading were good, really good on Saturday. So yeah, good to see.
Well, we came out really strongly, as you said, first, sort of, 6, 7 minutes, unreal passing sequence that ended with the ball being turned in to his own net. But I think it was Hughes, maybe. Hughes
Yeah.
might have scored the goal. And then there was a contentious second one where both players celebrated when in reality, I think it was Nibs. Well, it's officially gone down as Nibs who got the last touch. But was the ball over the line by then?
That one was
Probably.
such a tough one, wasn't it? It's
I
not a
mean,
David
get off
Nugent
him.
kind of goal, but it was quite funny. Like it's going in the net, and then Nibs just absolutely smashes it into the roof of the
Yeah.
net, came
So I'll have
inches
that
from
one.
missing.
So it was difficult, but again, it's nice to have those goals where you can kind of have a bit of a laugh about them, like banter goals, because actually everyone's kind of like, it doesn't matter, just get the goal, and you can see them kind of, taking the mick a little bit out of each other in terms of who it was. And then, my man, our man, gets away with an absolute stonewall
Oh
penalty.
yeah,
Like it
I
was
forgot
so
about that.
blatant, honestly. And I was like, oof. And
Yeah.
people around me were like, no one said anything because you could
That's
just
how you
tell.
know.
Like
Yeah.
the other end of the pitch, you could just tell like it's an absolute
It's a
100% penalty.
stadium-wide version
Oh,
of when the teacher asks if anyone wants to ask any questions, and
yeah.
everyone just goes,
Everyone
"No."
just goes to their shelf. No, no, we're good. Just ready for lunchtime.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I really felt for Darren Ferguson at that point.
Me
He
too.
was raging, and I really like Darren Ferguson as a we've taken the mick on the pod about him going backwards and forwards to Peterborough but like a yo-yo, but actually he's a good bloke and he knows football very well, and I thought he was a lot more gracious than I would have been post
Yeah, I
match.
would have been. I think I
I
wrote
would have been
the for Savage's rating. I think I wrote that little sequence that we're talking about right now, where Savage definitely should have given away a
yeah,
penalty to make potentially make the game what 2-2 at that point. Oh no, no, no! It would have been two. It would have been
would
two
have been
one
would have
at
been
that point, but would have changed the momentum of the game. Would it have been 2-1 yet by that point? I think
yeah, it
it
would
would.
have been 2-1 at that point. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that gets him back in the gap. But
right. It
we
was
really
back in the
got
game, like you said. Yeah, I think I wrote that with that goal that he then scored, it sent his Darren Ferguson's blood pressure into row Z. But to be fair, he actually kept it together more than the Exeter manager did a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he did, and actually what he said after the game, I was proud. I couldn't care less about Peterborough really, but I just thought actually, do you know what? It's a good advert for League One football because he could have gone ballistic. He could have gone absolute. I mean, I think he got booked in the aftermath, but
Yeah, he
it,
did.
it,
Yeah,
it was ridiculous, and they were having decisions that were not going with them at all, and it probably should have been if you're looking at it from a objective football point of view.
I think both
Savage
teams.
yeah, Savage gets away with one, and then within what 2, 3 minutes goes up the other end and basically wins the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice piece of symmetry that I'm just going to read this to you if that's okay, Ross, because I did some research on this and let me just find it. So nice symmetry here.
Okay.
Don't know if I've mentioned
Like
that it was
poetry, it
symmetry.
rhymes.
Yeah. Reading FC's first goal in March was actually scored by Jaden Wareham, set up by Charlie Savage.
Nice.
And Reading's last goal in March was scored by Charlie Savage, set up by Jaden Wareham. So bit of symmetry. Did a bit of
Friends,
research
football
myself.
friends.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was all my research
Very
done.
good. That is good. It was a lovely
Yeah.
goal. And by the way, so I prefer, as we've talked about a million times, Wareham in the middle because he can win you an aerial duel. He's not going to do it every single time, but he's going to do it 50% around there every single game, which wins you quite a lot of balls. Kelvin won one aerial duel all day, and in this goal, that got Wareham an assist,
Yeah.
he won an aerial duel. Lovely touchdown. I think I wrote that he danced it down. Very dancey pod today. But yeah, lovely, lovely take from him. Do you think that was a shot, or do you think that was a cross?
Nah,
Nah. So what are you saying?
I think it was a cross.
It was a cross. I thought so too. I think he's hooked his foot around it a bit too much. I think if he's trying to, I don't think you can.
Terrible shot.
Terrible shot if he's trying to do that, yeah. And we've seen some howlers. But
Yeah.
no, this was good play, and yeah, just good to see him go, get something for some of the performances recently. You've been very quiet about Savage. Do you want to?
No, well, look, yeah. I mean,
You've been very good. You've been very well behaved.
no, I think generally with there are players that you get at our club that are very slow burners, and
Yeah.
you know, people have said to me, "Ah, it's the bias, it's everything else. It's nothing to do with the nationality. Like, you don't come, and I've said this before with players that we got from places like Chelsea and obviously United previously, but you don't come from those um, backgrounds and not have something about you, right? It's very rare that you go through those youth systems and keep passing the bar and keep going through the thresholds if you're not very good or you're not going to make it. And when he came in, he was very, very raw for us. And I don't think the fan base in general saw the potential that was there, in terms of the international level that he was playing at the time, but also his caliber in terms of his grounding and everything else. But he really is some player. And
Mm.
I could sit here and give you all the stats in the world, but from an aesthetic point of view, from an anecdotal point of view, very few players over the last sort of 2 seasons have given as much in terms of effort levels and fitness and lack of injuries and all that kind of stuff than he has over that period of time. And I feel that his commitment, as with a lot of other players, but he was kind of frozen out a little bit. It was massive competition in that midfield when we had all of those
Yeah,
players,
definitely.
and he just kept plugging away and he kept going. And he's obviously got a really good relationship with Noel Hunt. We spoke about that in his recent interview with, I think it was the New York Times
It
randomly.
was The Athletic.
Um,
The New York Times
right,
got
okay,
The
there you go.
Athletic a little while back. Yeah, don't worry. I find this confusing too. I get
Blew my mind.
subscription renewal reminders from the New York Times. I'm like, I don't read that rag. What are we talking about?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. But
yeah,
and I'm really, really pleased that he's kind of turned the perception around a little bit within the fan base, and
sure.
Ross, but other people listening to this will know that there are players that I'm very loyal to, and I will always stick up for, regardless of how people perceive them in the wider Reading sphere, if you like. And Charlie Savage is definitely one of those players. And I think you made the point a couple of weeks ago that the club has been very good to these players in terms of giving them enough opportunities to play football and all the rest of it. But also, Charlie Savage has been great for Reading Football Club because he's hardly missed a beat. His fitness is unreal. Like he seems like a really grounded lad in terms of just getting on with a job.
I
Obviously
think
comes with
more's been
potential
expected of
baggage.
him. Sorry, Ben. I was just going to say
Yeah,
more's been of expected of him than the other, like center mids who arrived from a high level club that summer, which are obviously Elliot and Craig. Like, I think that because of the name and, or yeah, pretty much because of the name, and maybe because he's a little bit further along in his development, seemingly at that time than the others. There was expectation around Savage, this young, recent academy graduate, whereas Elliot and Craig are able to kind of just like slowly find their place. And obviously, Craig's done that through his utility, and Elliot's done that through his creativity. But yeah, I think that Savage has had a lot more pressure on him than either of those two players.
And certainly from his dad's point of view, like he's always been very, very good with this podcast. He's always been, very honest about what he feels that we've said or haven't said, and with nothing but kind words to say about Robbie and also the way that Charlie plays as well. And hopefully that will continue. Hopefully, he's still a Reading player this time next season. You don't know. You just don't know how these things work. But I think he's been fantastic, and I'm really really pleased for him that he's persevered with it, and the club have persevered. I'm delighted that Noel sees something in him that maybe Sellers didn't as well. So yeah, there's lots of positivity
Some of
there,
the
and
characters around him now I like too. Like I like that
yeah,
Wing is somebody that he can try and learn from. I don't think that Savage at the moment has the full skill set to kind of play the singular six position. I think that, there be differences in opinion there. I'm sure that he did it at the academy level, with Manchester United and did it perfectly fine. I don't know if he could do that at League One yet, but I certainly think he's on a road to being able to do that. He plays very well right now as an 8, and I can even see him working as a 10. So I think he's going to be a versatile player.
yeah.
Right now, though, he's given, like I was talking about in the kind of summary of why we looked better going forward. He's just providing balance to that left side by giving us, an obvious left footer on that side who can actually, manipulate the ball in whatever way he needs to on that side, can whip in dangerous crosses and things like that. So again, no surprise that we got he was so close to being involved in, 2 goals this weekend with Nibs bashing it into the roof. So I'm sure Kamara and Savage can both have a word with Harvey about that one.
He was your chap of the match, wasn't he, on Saturday?
My chap with that, you said that very much like my granddad. You chap of the match, weren't he? Yeah, he was. He was my man of the match. Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he was Reading's best player. I think he was the most consequential player on the field for Reading, but he was really good. Someone we haven't spoken about, and sorry, and I'll go back to you any second so you can finish off any thoughts on Savage. But while we're speaking about favorites, thinking of my favorite, wasn't there this weekend. Bindon just disappeared. Garcia disappeared off the squad list, which was, hopefully we get some more information there soon. But Stickland was excellent, really, really good. Some of the kind of last ditch tackles that he got involved in, and again, I don't think those were necessarily always of his. I don't think he was having to do those because he had made a previous mistake. I think that Peterborough's style of attack meant that they had lots of situations where they were running in semi in behind and stuff like that. So Reading kind of had to defend while running towards their own goal. Stickland, one of his sliding tackles just after half time in particular was just brilliant. So yeah, like we've talked about, it's an open audition right now. Who's going to take Tyler Bindon's spot in the center back lineup next year? And right now, Stickland looks in pole position.
Is he under contract next year?
Oh, don't say that. I'll have to go
Check
have a
your
look now.
spreadsheet. Go on, check your spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'll have to go check my spreadsheet and all that. I don't know if I included him in my. See, this is the thing. This is what changes with Reading all the time right now. Is I don't know if I included him in my sort of graphic that was, players that are moving on at the end of the season, because I don't know if at that time I thought he was relevant to that graphic. But yeah, very
He's a
quickly.
no-nonsense player, I have to say. But again, it's symptomatic of where the club is at, that these players have had to step up and they've had no time really to acclimatise. And the only way they're going to do that, but other clubs, you might get, 5, 10 minutes if you're lucky in terms of cameos. These players are just having to play. And they haven't got time to think about it and go, oh, what if I do this? What if I do that? They're just straight into action. So yeah,
Yeah,
Michael.
I didn't include him. Didn't include him. Sorry. But carry on what you were saying.
But yeah, just echoing what you said, I thought he was great. I thought he was
Yeah.
absolutely great, and it will do him the world of good. These players will feed off confidence and, the way the fans take to and everything else. Like it was just a really good vibe on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed it, I have to say. The other thing I really enjoyed, final bit of the recap, the pitch looked splendid.
Oh,
It's had a really nice rest over the last 2 weeks. Looks a heck of a lot better, heck of a lot healthier. So, huge credit to the ground staff there. They're doing a wonderful job under very, very difficult circumstances. Noel Hunt talked a few weeks ago about not being able to put the UV lamps on and all this kind of just nonsense that football clubs shouldn't have to deal with, but we are. And the other thing, and I know it's not technically the club, but the job that Well, in particular, Dale Y, who I think is the manager of the fan store. But the way Fanatics in general and the way the staff have physically put together the club shop, but also the promotions they're running at £18 for the home shirt on Saturday.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And the queues when I nipped in were out the door at that point. And normally that'd really piss me off, right? I'd be like, oh, why are all these people in a shop? But actually, it's just money. It's more money for the club, and it's not a huge amount, but it's something. And
Yeah.
just the fact that people were taking that offer, right, just great marketing. Absolutely, take my hat off to him because I thought it was excellent idea. Really, really well picked up um, by the fans. So, long may that continue. I'm after that red shirt though.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I like this
you
red
know,
one. Goes lovely with a watch the YouTube version of the podcast that Ryan
how many how
slays
many different
over.
shades of red do you want to wear?
Lots of different ones. The badge is different to the shirt, which is different to my undershirt. So yeah, I look like a plum, a plum. I went quiet because I was looking for Michael Stickland's contract, and the news is who knows. So if you go on Transfermarkt, you're going to find last contract expired in 2024. There
Right.
is a news story on the Reading website on the 5th of July of last year that says that he's one of 11 players who signed new contracts with the club, retaining their services for the 24-25 campaign. I believe he was also one of the players who signed professional terms at that point. So most likely Stickland is here only for this year at the moment. But who knows?
Well, we're gonna nip into it. I mean, I say the mailbag. Do you know what? We're gonna do the mailbag all in one. Actually, we're gonna do
Okay.
mailbag and preview because there's very little on the mailbag, which is I don't know. Is that weird? Maybe
But
not.
normally we say that it gets more, like it's more exciting after a win. But I think because we have a tricky schedule coming up, like Blackpool is a tricky one,
Mm.
and then Wickham are on the list too, right? I think that people are still a little bit trepidatious, but like again, the team are playing well. Like it's an 11 game unbeaten run. This win took Hunt up to 1.5 points per game. I posted a little graphic on my Blue Sky today. But Hunt now has a higher percentage of positive results than Sellers in either the 23-24 or the 24-25 season. So Sellers like to win. He had a higher win percentage than Hunt. He was over 50% this year, just gone. But that kind of more brave, dangerous football, I suppose,
Mm.
led to losses and things like the Bolton result up in Bolton, as well. So we're up to 1.5 points per game under Hunt. That's higher than the 1.4 points per game we were under with Sellers last year. It's not as high as it was in the first half of this season, but it is pretty consistent. We're picking up points, and with nine more to go, well, that'll take us to 14 or 15 more points for the rest of the season. I
Yeah.
think that gives us a good chance of taking that last playoff spot. So yeah, credit to Hunt.
Well, he's got a positive result percentage of 76, which is pretty good.
It's pretty great. Yeah, no, like I think I saw, what did I say? So Hunt is at 76, like you say. Sellers is at that earlier this year was at 71%, and then last year 59%. So I think that was the thing with Sellers. Like you might get an exciting win,
Mm.
but you might also get a pretty wild result going the other way as well. Obviously, the first half of last season feels like a different uh dinosaur period
Yeah, it does.
than
You're
what we're
right. No, I get
currently
what you're
in.
saying.
But
Yeah.
yeah, just thought it was kind of interesting, kind of pulling up the comparison again. Yes, Hunt doesn't, get quite as many wins, but he gets a positive result. He gets points on the board more often. It's a 38% win percentage, but a 76%, double that positive result percentage. So we're only losing less than a quarter of the time under Hunt, and this is all League One. So yeah, I feel pretty hopeful for the last 9 games.
Mm. Well, look, we don't know what happens in the future. It's a very, very difficult week for everyone involved. We've got the small matter of a game tomorrow night against Blackpool, obviously back home. on Saturday against those idiots from Buckinghamshire at 12:30. But look, he's done really well. And whether the brand of football is what you want to see as a Reading fan, at this stage, I don't think anyone cares. And really, it's just about getting behind the team now, as a lot of us have done all the way through the season. And I've been there with them. So if we can get a few more people in the stadium over the next couple of games, that'd be fantastic, really. See what happens. We're going to head to the mailbag / preview.
It's a double preview, so that's fine because we're doing Blackpool and Wickham. So we'll get this out before you might be on the way to Blackpool right now. Godspeed. So,
yeah, good luck. Well, just come back safely, but it's nothing to do with luck. Just come back. Just don't stay there.
Don't turn that way. Yeah.
Don't get lured in by the bright lights like a moth.
Right, exactly. I was trying to find my list of Ben's favorite places in the UK to see if Blackpool was on it. But...
Blackpool's just overrated.
Okay.
It's just not,
nothing crazy about that. It's all right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, like anywhere when the sun's out, it's great, but
that's true, actually. Yeah, Skegness is all right when the sun's out, isn't it? So yeah.
I went to uni in Portsmouth, right? And honestly, I was never there during the best parts of the year.
Yeah, Bournemouth University, same thing.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Same. No one wants to be in blooming Portsmouth in December. Trust me, it's grim.
It's true.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress, and we're going to go to the preview. And no, we're going to do mailbag, one question, and we're going to do the preview. So in a bit.
Send in your views to the tilehurstend@gmail.com and have your say in the mailbag.
Tilehurst podcast. My nose went all nasy then. It's like I'm talking like this.
Well, it's something about... Wait, do you sit very high up in the Dolan? Is that maybe the air's getting to your nose?
I don't know. Do you know what is weird, though? And I said this in my award-winning column, View from the Dolan, that it can be about 25 degrees on the outside of Reading, just anywhere. But within the stadium, it's at least 10 degrees less.
It looked like a nice day. From what I could see, yeah.
It's just weird. I've never worked it out. I also worked out that I spent in the region of 65 to 70 pounds on hot dogs this season.
Oh, well, you know what? I think, to be fair, listeners to the pod might have expected that. Not because of like anyone who's, and remember, I'm not saying like the YouTube watchers. I'm not saying people who are looking at you. I'm saying we have mentioned the hot dogs a lot. I think one of the episode titles included hot dogs in it. So, yeah. How's the beer temperature? Is the beer temperature good?
Do you know what? So my mate Andy messaged me and he said the beer's really good today.
Okay.
I didn't care because the sun was out, we were playing well, and I just wanted a beer at half time. And it didn't taste the best, but actually, in some ways, it did.
I tell you what, no, I'm with you. It's the context. Like I just saw you raise a cerveza to that learning Spanish right now.
These are good. These are 0% Coronas. These are really...
there you go. Okay, yeah. We got a couple of 0%ers over here that I like too. But no, you made me want a beer now.
It's quite nice talking to you having a beer. Not that I need to drink to talk to you, but I don't really like to drink in the week. So having a 0%, it's a good one. It's all right.
Yeah. If you're ever recording a podcast, listeners, I don't think I can record a podcast that I drink. I've always got something here, water or whatever. It's just water. It's just water.
In the jam jar that you just had.
Oh, I was drinking coffee, iced coffee. Even though the New England thing is that even when it's snowy on the ground, which it is again, we're still drinking iced coffee. It's not still
snowing though, is it?
Yeah, it snowed again. We got like 5 inches on Saturday. So
you lot need to grow up, honestly.
Yeah. I know. Like God, not every day can be a snow day, man.
Yeah, it's not Narnia.
Right? Whole blinking state. Oh dear. Anyway, let's talk about some football.
Oh, the mailbag, yeah. Hold on, let me just find it.
The mailbag of one.
I think it's RFC Martyr again. It is.
Yeah.
I'm excluded from this one. One for the Statesman. Guess he means you. If we were to get to, why is he asking you? I could answer this.
Nah,
if we were to get to the
like
playoffs, would we be the team with the youngest average age to achieve it?
Oh,
Got
God.
to be close if we're not. I probably should have sent you this actually because this was on X.
That's actually a really good question. Yeah, I know. I spent
Probably
the
should be.
morning. That is a really good question. I spent the morning looking at kind of like the points per game and, Rushesha, like I said, and why he had so many touches. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, they must be right in there though. Like, some of those back fours this season have been mad. When we've
Well, I
had.
know we've got the second youngest average age in the league.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't actually think we are the youngest in the league because we've got Pereira and we've got Wing, who
Yedlin
who
is
bring us
about
up a bit.
84.
Yedom is from a different age of the earth
Genre.
genre. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like to half of the kids who are playing in the team right now. So yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I again like so I've got a all right. So why you should watch Reading's back this week? I think this week is actually on the playoffs because it's madness. It is madness again that this team of kids and people who were brought in for no money are doing this well. And I predicted at the start of the season they would make the playoffs. I thought they would be good, but it's still surprising. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Can I just say
Yeah.
that, we're all fully behind fill the SEL hashtag here. We always want um, fans to be in the stadium.
Okay.
But Ross, to his credit, has been knocking out why you should watch Reading videos for months now.
Only well, a month maybe. It hasn't been too
That's
long
months,
yet.
isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
we'll round that up to 3 months. And so he's been
yeah.
he was the hashtag before the hashtag was, even created. So
Exactly. That's what you
if
call
you need
squatting on
reason,
an SEO term, listeners,
yeah,
so that when we get good again, after we get suspended,
no,
then
we won't.
yeah,
If you're one of these people that regularly listens to this pod and you're one of our mega fans, first of all, double thumbs up and thank you. But secondly, direct them if they don't want to listen to two blokes waffling on for 40 plus minutes, which is perfectly understandable. Direct them to the YouTube versions of Ross's Why You Should Watch Reading. If they're
yeah,
in any doubt as to why they shouldn't back the boys on Saturday against those Muppets from the next county,
right.
then send them one of Ross's videos on YouTube.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, there's one on the playoffs coming out, but there's one on the academy and just how crazy it is, and I think it's like called like how we give youth a chance or something like that.
Police Academy or the Reading Academy.
The Reading Academy, the Reading Academy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't
So
win them all. So,
yeah, well, but yeah, really,
what
yeah.
was it
The
about?
the youth point we're talking about Martyr and the youth.
Oh yeah,
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 that
yeah.
yeah.
No, he's right. Like I think I've found it most amusing this year when like Tyler Bindon has been the senior partner in the center back, partnership with
Senior
like
partner. Sounds like a
yeah.
law firm.
Well,
You've
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's Bindon and Stickland LLC. But
yeah.
like when that first happened, Bindon's played like 50 odd games more than, Stickland, but then like Stickland's older than him. So it's
Mm.
just, it is mad, like some of the youth. And Andre Garcia obviously drags that age down quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, like, I think it's just like a good little spine of players who have got enough experience to, help the younger players. And there's so much potential in the squad that, yeah, yeah.
I mean, people forget that Charlie Savage is only 12. So,
Right, exactly.
it's
Yeah. It's
really
mad that
quick.
he's doing this, like
It's crazy.
him and Reese Oxford, who started a game age 16 and then disappeared off the face of the
Yeah.
planet.
He's probably still 16 somewhere, isn't he?
Right, exactly. We're all 16. Well, no, wait, hang on.
No.
No,
No.
no, 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 no,
Pull the
no.
plug on that one.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna leave that well out. I found out why I thought Pizza Express was called something different now, because it's called Milano in Ireland.
Is
So,
it?
yeah, very classy Irish people. And I think we have a few Irish listeners. So, Irish listeners, why is it called Milano in Ireland? Why can't it be called Pizza Express?
I'd love a bit more engagement on the nonsense we talk. You have Popeyes in America, don't you?
Yes, we do. Yeah, there's
It's
one of
just an American
those.
chain, isn't it? Yeah.
It's
No,
it's
cool.
one of those in the South Portland Mall, which is very good. I go to Wendy's the most of the American chain
Yeah.
fast food places. I like a
I,
Wendy's.
I like Popeyes. There's one in the high street.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Broad Street, fantastic, love it in there. Absolutely
Yeah.
great restaurant as well. Well, restaurant, you know
I
what I
make
mean.
my own chicken like that, like fried chicken sandwiches and things. Maybe I'll have to do that on Why You Should Watch Reading sometime. I just do Ross's fried chicken recipe, but which
You
we'll stop
should.
talking about any second. But I do a triple milk based
Oh
with
goodness me.
buttermilk. Yeah, yeah, with flour and however many spices I want to do. So anyway, come on down for my chicken sandwiches.
Um, oh God, I can't believe you just done that.
Yeah.
What am I? How do I
We should
redeem
talk
it?
about the games we've got coming
Blackpool.
up.
Yeah, let's talk about the games we've got. So Blackpool, we go up to Bloomfield Road. Sounds a lot more exotic than it actually is. They are second in the form table over 6 games, 13 points. That's quite good, isn't it?
Stevie Bruce, right? Too.
I love Steve Bruce, quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love how
I
petty he was with Dwight Gale as well.
see
Love
and what
that.
was this one? You're gonna have to tell me this story.
So Dwight Gale basically slagged him off as the manager
Yeah.
in some interview that he did with something, and the interviewer then asked Steve Bruce about it after a Blackpool game, and he went off on a tangent about, Dwight Gale was basically crap as well. So it was a really bizarre exchange because there was absolutely no need to ask that question because it was in no relation whatsoever to
Yeah.
Blackpool Football Club or Steve Bruce, but he then bit. Um,
Something
just great.
was
It's great
something.
TV. Great
Yeah.
TV, to be
All right.
honest.
I'm gonna check that out. My favorite Steve Bruce thing is the kind of GIF or little video of him sort of looking very sheepish at the press conference table, sort of, looking around the place. So yeah.
I've tried to perfect that kind of. Hey,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I just wish I'd been in the room to see the overall context of it. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
we go to Stevie Bruce's Blackpool. They're knocking on the door.
They're looking all
It's a
right.
very
Yeah.
big door. It's a very big door at the moment. That the battle for sixth is really starting to heat up. And you would look at the game tomorrow, and I don't know, would if we beat them, would they be out of it? I mean, I thought we were out of the playoff picture weeks ago, and
I
yet we're
don't think
back.
so, but you make a good point. Like it would be nice to at least pick up a point and just keep, it's okay if we're not in sixth place at the end of play. But it would be nice to get a point, if anything, just to slow their roll a little bit and kind of not allow them to catch up.
Before we come back to Blackpool, I had a great result beating their, I say local rivals. I guess they are, aren't they, really? Blackpool and Bolton's quite a big one, isn't it, up there? They won 2-1 at the weekend. But after this block of games, so we have Blackpool and we have Wycombe.
Yep.
Big games, big games at the top of the table there. We then have Northampton. Can't remember the order, but we have Mansfield. We have Lincoln at home as well. We have to play Bristol Rovers, and we have to
Shrewsbury
play
of the top of all of that kind of stuff.
Shrewsbury, yeah, and we have to play Barnsley, the final game of the season. So we've got a couple of teams in and around the playoff, in and around the relegation zone, but also going nowhere very quickly mid-table, i.e. Lincoln and Mansfield. So there are teams there, possibly Barnsley by that point as well. I'd be surprised if Barnsley were going into the last game of the season needing a win to get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So look, there is potential, but these two next games could be tricky, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get anything from the next two games.
Yeah, it's tricky,
I
right?
wouldn't be
Like
happy, but I wouldn't be surprised.
But the weird thing about Reading is that they've played better against the better teams in the last few weeks. So we've had these, performances we've been frustrated with against Shrewsbury, against Stevenage, at home where we've given up points and we could be in even better shape. So I almost feel more, there's a part of me that wants to feel more positive about the next couple of games, than I will, than I do about the six, to end the season. But you're right. Like if we can get through this week, and it's worth doing this preview on this week just as a feature, because if we can get through this week still firmly in the hunt, we have a very favorable run in to both get into the playoffs and then also build up some momentum. We've talked a lot about how getting 3 goals and getting 2, 3 goals more often would be something that would hugely help Reading take the next step. Getting there quite so quickly, in the second half this week was really good to see. I do think that, again, Peterborough don't have the most solid defense ever, but I think there were also improvements from Reading. So yeah, like I can kind of see what you mean that we might not get anything from these. I would want 2 or 3 points from these games. Really, I can accept a loss in these because I think that even though we've been on this run, there's at least 1 to 2 more losses minimum left in that fixture list. But if we're going to lose to Blackpool, I'd like to see the team really kind of come out like they did against Wrexham, at home and get a good win against Wickham. And they can do it. We know they can do it. They've hung with everyone in this league. So yeah, be interesting to see which team comes out in the next 2 games.
Well, Ashley Fletcher's your man to watch. I think he's on 11 goals this season.
League
No,
One stalwart too, right? Wasn't he on those Sunderland teams when they were on their way up as well?
I feel like you might be thinking of Stephen Fletcher.
I feel like no, no, no. I think Ash. I'm gonna look this up too. But what was it?
Right.
Ashley Fletcher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I guess he was on the score sheet. What we're talking about, of course they are. They're local rivals, aren't they? Blackpool and Bolton.
yeah,
Oliver Casey at the back, he's got quite a good, comes with quite a good reputation at the moment. So, look, they're there or thereabouts at the moment. They haven't gone away. They were slipping quite badly. They brought Steve Bruce in, which I think is a very shrewd appointment at this level. Whether you think he's a dinosaur or whatever, he's massively steadied the ship there in terms of the results. As I said, over the last 6 games,
yeah. And they beat us
they're
quite
second in form.
comprehensively in December. It's worth
Yeah,
remembering as well. They kind of used a 4-4-2 press that
they did.
disrupted us when we were trying to move the ball from the sort of midfield line to the forward line. We really struggled to get the ball to the forwards in that
Mm,
particular game. That was kind of one of the games early on in Hunt's tenure that I think worried some people.
for sure.
But
They
again,
were
I
good.
think,
They were one of the better teams we played at home this season, I think, for sure.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, look, it's a test. These are all important games now. This time of the season, I agree with you. If we had to choose, and this might be being negative Reading fans, but if we're going to take a loss, I'd take it tomorrow and then go and beat Wickham on Saturday.
Yeah,
It'd
I
be
think
great.
I agree with that. It would create a few days of pressure cooker again, which I don't necessarily think is the best thing for Reading. But hey, I mean, they respond to these environments over and over. We was having a conversation with some of our younger members of the Tilehurst crew earlier. When do you think the last time Reading won up at the exotic Bloomfield Road was?
When the last time they won.
Yeah. And I can give you the context. The reason I was talking to the younger generation was because it's before this particular TTE staff member existed, before he was born.
Oh, I was going to say something like wildcard, like 1998 or something.
Okay, okay. You're in the ballpark. It's 2002 was the last time that. See, that's the thing though. 2002 is 23 years ago.
Yeah,
It feels weird, doesn't it?
but the thing is, though, we haven't. I mean, I'd love to see the games, but we haven't really. I feel like we haven't crossed paths that much.
Yeah, they were in League One for a while and they had their little stretch in the Premier League after we had ours, I think. I don't remember playing Blackpool in the Premier League. So
No.
yeah, no, we haven't crossed quite as much as others and they had a real fall again after their Premier League jaunt in the after the
Yeah,
millennium, as I
and they're
remember.
another club that we'd look at and go, do you know what, they've been through the ringer in terms of ownership. Horrendous stuff that they had to go through,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
they were, very, I say positively aggressive in removing the brothers they had there as the Oyston brothers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah.
they did really, really well to come back as a club, and I think they're another one you look at and go, do you know what, fair play, well done, and long may it continue for them in terms of a positive notion. So off the pitch, it's another difficult week. We haven't really touched on that for obvious reasons because we wanted to concentrate on the football after quite a heavy one last week. We haven't
Yeah.
really got much to add. Stuff will take its course. We'll see where we are tomorrow. We'll see where we are the day after that. We'll see where we are, come the weekend. But Saturday could prove to be a real turning point for this football club. Regardless, let's hope we get the win and we continue to kind of cement and solidify our position in the playoffs. I mean, God knows we deserve it. If you ever deserve anything in life, Reading Football
Yeah,
Club
I
deserves
was
a
gonna say,
playoff
yeah,
point.
it's a good
So,
point.
it's one of those, and I think the outpouring of positivity from neutrals and people that probably overlooked us um, in previous years, kind of those fans from other clubs are now starting to go, "Do you know what? They've done an incredible job." And I think it was the guy from the Peterborough newspaper that said the real success story in League One this season is Reading Football Club. And he won't be listening to this, but if he is, I want to say thank you very much for that, because actually that really touched a nerve in a positive way for me when I read that. And we have been overlooked repeatedly by everyone except the fan base, and I think people are starting to realise what's been achieved here, and
Yeah, yeah, for
what
sure.
could be achieved here. So we'll see, we'll see.
I think the dream playoff final for a lot of people who don't want to see, insert X club or whatever in the playoff final is Reading versus Stockport. But that's of
Yeah,
course the nightmare playoff final for us because we won't
don't
get
want that.
we'll get beat 5. We just
Do you want
cannot.
to? I mean, do you want to? Should we just end with a very brief chat about the current playoff picture? Is that
Yeah, we
or
touched
is
in
that
on it a few times, but
is
yeah,
that
it's kind of
allowed?
worth touching in on again. It's always worth talking about. I think that, like we've said, like with the um, with the next two games, that's where we need to kind of get just steady things. But then it is going to be about just grinding out the results and grinding out points again in the back half. And I think Reading are in a pretty good position to do that. I haven't, I haven't sat down and looked at the run in for all of the teams in there, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's teams with more difficult run-ins than us, and B, a lot of those teams in there, given that we're not really playing any of the teams in the playoff mix after this week, there's probably a lot of teams in the playoff mix who are playing each other and thus taking points off each other, which helps us, obviously. Like we had a result that helped us this weekend, that also gave points to one of the playoff challenges in Blackpool now, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah.
stuff changes in football very quickly, and yeah.
I mean, sixth upwards. So we occupy the last spot, 62 points, 38 played. Stockport in fifth, 68 points, 39 played. That's interesting. Charlton, I mean, they've come from nowhere in recent weeks, haven't they? They've come from mid-table doldrums and they've shot up the league. Um,
Yeah, they were threatening for a long time. I think we've seen even with the kind of like, 1.5 points per game, that's enough to keep you kind of like hanging on to the edge of the playoffs. So if you can go
yeah.
better than that, like you're gonna start shooting up the league. Wrexham are pretty much they're now below 2 points per game. So Birmingham are having a pretty exceptional season, obviously, and there are reasons for that come down to money. But like even Wrexham are starting to pull down. I think there's a decent amount of teams in that kind of bracket that Reading are in that are, pretty good. And yeah, it's gonna be an interesting run in. But I'm still back in Reading to kind of nick that sixth spot. I think Huddersfield are dangerous. Leighton Orient have started to pick up wins again, but yeah, I still
They're probably
feel
too inconsistent at this stage of the season, really, aren't they?
yeah, they've lost that kind of
Um,
like little spark they had from the new manager bounce as well. So yeah, no, I think Reading are in a good position, and this week, is going to be huge for where we end up. But if we come out of this with more than 3 points, I think it'll be Reading's to lose at that point.
Start dreaming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
start
start
dreaming.
dreaming.
I've been dreaming since August, mate. Dream more, dream freely and haphazardly, like a Reading court case. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Look, the next time we speak to you guys officially, if you like, on the next pod, it will be a very different picture indeed. We'll have a lot more news, I'm sure. Hopefully, talking about two wins out of two at the moment. all looking good on the pitch, doing incredibly well under very difficult circumstances. Thank you so much for giving up. Now coming up for 50 minutes, is it 50 minutes? Maybe a bit longer than that.
Who
Maybe an
even
hour.
knows?
Maybe we'll touch an hour now.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on episode 414. Ross, have a good rest. I say rest of your week. It's only Monday, isn't it? Have a good
Thank
rest of your
you. I'm off to Ireland to go to Milano and have a dancey dance.
There you go.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
big.
We will be around for all the what do we call it? Reviews, match reports, player ratings, all that sort of stuff from Blackpool, and of course from Wickham as well.
Yep.
So keep your eyes peeled on social media and of course the website. This will be up on YouTube as well if you want to watch two people talking about Reading Football Club. If you don't, thank you very much for tuning into the audio. Have a good rest of the week. Safe travels if you are going up to Blackpool. We will see you Saturday. And then for the episode 415 next Monday, probably.
You should never say a day because we'll never actually live up to
Never
it.
dare
Just
do
say
it.
some point.
We're
Yeah,
just useless. We're unprofessional joke of a podcast. That's what we are. So
exactly. But it's our style and we're not changing it, baby.
it's the hill we're going to die on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ross, take care, mate. And
Yep, you too.
take care to everybody. And we'll see you soon. Come on, you arts.